Hey everybody, this is Bethany from Cranberry Essentials. Welcome to the new year. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope that you were safe and celebrating and you were able to enjoy yourselves. I actually got to New Year's and hubby and I both fell asleep. This is not uncommon. We're not big partiers. But we are, however, we had both worked long weeks, and so we were pretty tired by the time we got to New Year's. If you add to that the energy of the full moon that was right around there, and I hadn't slept very much for a few days, so that certainly had an impact on it. So we're going forward into a new year, and like most people, I am looking at setting some new goals for the coming year. I like goals. I don't necessarily call them resolutions, but I enjoy having that blank slate of being able to look at something with a new perspective. And definitely this has been, this is a new opportunity for me to go forward. We have been working towards our goal. Last year was, despite everything that was going on with the C word, hubby and I were very successful. Not completely successful, but about 90% successful in paying down a lot of our debt that we had out there. As far, when I talk about debt, I'm talking about credit card debt. I'm not talking about our mortgage. We do have, our mortgage is small compared to a lot of people. We bought back in the 80s, late 80s, and we have been working towards that, working on that. I think we've refinanced a couple of times to put additions on the house, but for the most part, we're doing okay with that. Our goal was to pay down enough debt so that we could work towards our goal of being able to extend a life and go on the road. Our goal is to spend a couple of years traveling through the United States. We want to be able to go and share it with everybody and see all of the things that we have not been able to see. I'm a huge history buff. The idea of getting out to being able to see more is certainly very attractive, but also it's about finding those people in those communities out there and being able to share that with everybody so that we can move forward. We did reach one goal at the end of the year. Hubby went out and got a bigger truck that we're going to need for hauling the RV. He settled on a 2020 Dodge Ram 2500. We had a truck before, but it wouldn't have been big enough to haul to the extent that we are looking at hauling, so we wanted to extend that and make it a larger towing capacity. So that part is done, and now we're on to looking at purchasing an RV, and certainly going through all of the options. I'm going to be adding some more content to the channel that you're going to be seeing some of those choices as they come up. We went and looked at one yesterday. Spoiler alert, it was not the one. Things can look really good on paper, on the internet, and then you get there and they're not at all what you expect. And that was sort of what the case was with this one. But in effect, it actually had a really good effect on us, in that it sort of changed what we were looking at, made us realize that perhaps what we were thinking we wanted was not it. So even though the camper was not what we had hoped it would be, it told us what we didn't want, and that's just as powerful. Going into this year, you're going to see some changes to the channel. I'm going to be making some channels. I'm actually hoping to expand this quite a bit throughout the year. As I said, you're going to be seeing some things on our journey, and it's going to be more than tarot readings, although the tarot readings will definitely be playing a part. You may see me branch out from one channel to 2 different channels, and that will enable me to keep the tarot into one part of it, which I really enjoy and has become a huge part of my life, and to expanding so that you have the other part for those people who are not interested in that but still want to know about the journey ahead of us. So I'm going to be talking about a few things going forward. Today, it's all about the words. Today, we're going to talk about some of the inspiration that I have come across lately, some things that I have been watching and looking for and looking at and listening. It's all been on there. Even as weary as I have been able to sort of download and decompress, and a lot of that. I love to watch YouTubers who are being creative, who are using their ideas and their inspirations to put that out there. At heart, I'm a writer, and that is going to be coming back in the new year as well. So I want to share this all with you, and I hope that you'll enjoy this. In the meantime, we're going to talk about just some things that I have been working on, some different inspirations that I've had. So the first thing I want to share is I started listening to a podcast, and I find podcasts are a great way for me to take it all in, listen to perspective. A lot of times it's more about it's more than just the words. It's the tone of voice. It's as people are podcasting, they're adding their own energy to it, and I respond to that as well. And so that's something that I've been looking at. If you're a creative person, and by creative, I'm not talking about just writing or videography or podcasting. I'm talking about making things. If you're a maker, that's a highly creative art. If you're someone who works around a house and takes such creative energy and joy in being able to refurbish something or to build something, all of that energy that goes into that is creative. And that is something that I think that going forward in 2021, you're going to see a resurgence. You're going to see more of that building up. We are going into what they call the Age of Aquarius. And if you're old enough like me to remember the song, then yeah, it's going through your head right at the moment. But what I'm talking about is they're talking about this energy as sort of, well, the last time this energy came around was the Renaissance period. This sort of enlightened thinking. They were coming out of the Dark Ages, and so at that point they were expanding their thinking. They were bringing it forward. They were sharing it, whether it was painting or books or living in general, travel, all of those things. It became this. Sorry about that. The camera ran out, and so I had to stop and rework things. Just okay. Lighting is a little bit better than what I was looking at before. So, and I just realized when I watched that I need a haircut really badly. But anyways, I digress. All right, so we're going to talk about the fact that I was talking about the age of the Renaissance is restarting. We are talking about the Age of Aquarius. We are moving forward with this energy that is much more enlightened, looking more towards the creative empowerment of the soul, moving forward the things that will open and expand your mind. It's instead of being an era of money and material wealth, it's going to be moving towards a much more enlightened period. And so that is something that a lot of people are working on. You're going to find people are more open to sharing ideas and more open to sharing that kind of inspiration as well. One of the things that I didn't catch on camera, but I was talking about it, was I came across a podcast this week, and this podcast is something I had signed up for before and hadn't really gotten a chance to listen to. Her name is Sarah M. Chappell, and I believe her vlog with the, no, it's not a vlog, it's a blog that has links to her podcast are So You Want to Be a Witch, podcast for soul-centered entrepreneurs and the people that love them. And this podcast that came up was podcast episode number 133, Holistic Guide to Pricing. Now, pricing is a touchy subject. It doesn't matter what kind of a creative you are, it is a touchy subject. And it's because to put a value on what you do, what you see your value versus others seeing that value in it may not be the same. A lot of writers that I know talk about this because when people complain about having to buy a book, here's a really good example of this. When people complain about having to buy a book and the book is $7.99 and they're like, wow, that's a lot of money, when I can get one for 99 cents off a pirated site. Wrong. That $7.99 that you buy that book for is months worth of work, laboring over it. A lot of times it's the cost of having someone edit it so that it will be an easier read. I know because I edit things. It's the cost of the website that they use to get their stuff out there. It is blood, sweat, and tears, really, and a lot of money. The covers alone for those can go huge amounts of dollars. But that, again, is a creative resource that costs money. When we say a cover costs a lot of money, you get what you pay for. If you put your money into a cover, they're going to know what it is that's going to attract somebody. They know the pieces that are going to transport that image or that thought or that idea effectively enough so that you pick it up and you pay that $7.99. All of these things come in together. All of these mean something. So when someone says to you, or here's another example. I was making cups for a while, and we're talking about, acrylic cups, usually a hog cup or some sort of similar like that with a coating on it and an epoxy coat. The epoxy was expensive. The equipment to do it, the supplies that were needed, the cups alone were over $30 if you pick a hog. That's a lot of money to put into that, not to mention time. Each cup would take multiple coats. It took hours. Most cups I would leave spinning overnight. So there's electricity involved, there's the time, it's sitting on the spinner that I can't put something else on it. And to have people come back and go, well, that's a lot of money for a cup. Yes, but you can't, even with the prices that some of those people were getting, they can't ever recoup it. The only way to do that is to expand it, to the point where, you're running this as a full-scale business, and then you're defraying the cost out over multiple products. Writers can't do that, not unless they are writing so fast. No, there's writers out there that do it, that they can write a book in a couple of months, they get it to the editor, they're on to the next one. Not everybody can refill their creative soul that fast. And a lot of that is what I'm going to be talking about as I move forward with the podcast and with all of this. We're going to be talking about creative making of all kinds. I don't want to limit it just to one thing. I want to be able to share what it is, that passion that people have. And, if you are someone who has to set a price tag for what they do. If you are a tarot reader and you want to charge for your tarot, then you need to set it according to Sarah Chappell, and I thought this was a really good explanation. The first thing you should look at is how much money do you have to make. So instead of saying, well, you know, there's no one else out there, I'm a newbie, I don't need, you know, value. Value is a part of this, yes, but you need to know how much you need to make in order to make this a business. And it is a business. A lot of writers who get into writing have no idea what it takes to run a business. And this is something that I have advocated for 20 something plus years. You need to know all of the pieces that are involved in it in order to be someone who has repeat customers. Honestly, because that's what a reader is. It's a customer. And when you, yeah, it's great to write the book of your heart, but if that book of your heart is so obscure that no one wants to read it, you have just spent 6 to 8 months on a book that's gonna just sit there and do nothing. That's a lot of time, effort, and heart that you have put into something. If you're happy with just you reading it, that's fantastic. You've done it. If you want to sell it as a business, you've got to value your product and yourself. You are the product, and you need to be able to produce that product and sell it. So if you are someone who is interested in valuing what you do and setting yourself up with this, I would highly suggest listening to Sarah's podcast. She's got some really good points on there. And there are a lot of soul-centered, creative makers out there who are putting their efforts and their energy out onto these podcasts. Check them out. It's worth it. So the second one that I wanted to talk about was a vlog, because I really want to highlight some of these YouTubers that I'm running across who are putting out a product that I think is a creative take on their own way of doing it. There's no new ideas out there. There's only new ways to do it. And there's also, well, okay, we'll just talk about who it is. Her name is Kayla Stroop, and it's KAYLAHSTROUP. Now, if you go to YouTube and you look it up, you are going to find some very brightly colored hair. She has, the video that I started watching, she has bright green hair. And she is the cutest little thing you've ever seen. She is eccentric, inspirational. She is outrageous in a sort of cute way. She brings this sort of great energy that she wants so much to share, and you can feel it when you watch her videos. The videos that I started watching was she and her husband have just bought an 1850 something brick mansion, and they are going through, and they just got the keys. This was, I think, back in, I don't know when it was. And it's recently. They haven't been in there that long. And the thing has like 7 bedrooms, and she is a creative. I'm not sure exactly what she does, but I know that she's got a lot of interest, and so she puts it out there. So Kayla Stroop, if you want to see some fun, go and watch it. She made me want to get up and go do stuff, and just really, she's not afraid of anything, and I think that that's part of it. You need to not be afraid to do stuff. All right, so that's my new find, and as I said, I'm going to be sharing some more of those as well. But as far as the vlog goes, so we're going to talk about the next part is what I have been reading. In this case, I've been listening to it, and because I just honestly have not had the ability or the time to pick up a book and read. Not much. I've done some, not much. And this is, we had a couple of days when it was slower at work, so I could do background. I like to run voices in the background that are books or podcasts or things that I can listen to. So the one that I'm talking about today is one that you are seeing all over YouTube right now, all over Instagram, all over everything. Everybody's talking about it. And it's not a new book. I think it came out in 2016, maybe not, maybe newer than that. And that's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I think last year's book that everybody was talking about was the one about getting rid of all your stuff, joy, finding joy in things, or whatever that was. This year it's Atomic Habits. And I think that this feeds right into everybody's mindset of, okay, I want to move forward, and how am I going to do that? So James Clear has written this book, and it's all about using that inspiration and using those goals that you want to do and breaking it down into a process. I have not finished it. Let me just put that out there. I have not finished it. However, he's talking about things that can apply to any goal that you have. And part of what he is saying are the part that I'm getting so far, the biggest piece that I've gotten from it so far, spoiler alert, is that you need to see yourself in the role that you want to be. So it's sort of like, you know, the old adage about dress for the job you want, not the one you have. So the guy shows up in, a gladiator costume or whatever. No, I'm talking about seeing yourself at the level you want to be and portraying yourself that way. So if I say I want to be a YouTuber with 100,000 people following me, instead of saying I want, which is not an act, it is an active word, but you want a word that says you've already gotten there. Ironically, a lot of this is the same as manifesting. You're using words that put you into that position now. You're harnessing the energy that is involved with feeling a goal already accomplished in order to move you forward to get to that goal. And that's a lot of what this is. If you want to become a healthier person, I'm going back to the diet, by the way, but that's a whole nother story. If you want to become a healthier person by eating healthy foods, what you would do is every time you go to reach for food, you're going to say, I'm a healthy person. I eat healthy food. If that thing you were reaching for is chocolate or pizza, it's going to bring that goal into mind and help you move towards that mindset. Makes sense, right? If you get up every day, look in the mirror and say, I'm an amazing person. I am creative, I am intelligent, and I am doing the best job I can. The more you say it, becomes a habit. The more you do it, becomes part of your life. And you will find that become part of your life. It sounds simple, and I'll be talking more as I listen to it more. Like any other self-help book, I tend to get a little, okay, we've gotten through that. What's the next point? But, yeah. So far, I'm finding very well. People who love these kind of books, and especially if you like to hear people to read their own books, it's very good. He has a great voice for it, and it's worth it. You know, it's one of those books that's worth it. So the last two books I'm going to talk about are both fiction, and they're both romances, which is my background, but not all the books that I'm going to cover are romance, and they're another part of this time of year, I tend to get a little more nostalgic, and you want I'm gonna say it wrong, hoogie feel, that sort of fuzzy socks, comforter, feeling nice and warm for the fireplace type of deal. Okay, that's not to say that these aren't well-written books that are an inspiration. I hear a lot of people, I'm going to go off on a side tangent here for a minute. I hear a lot of people talking about Bridgerton and Julia Quinn, one of my all-time favorites. I love Regency romance. I read it for a reason. I like Regency romances because I know I could never write one. The amount of knowledge that goes into writing any kind of a historical is huge. And there is always going to be somebody who tells you that you're wrong. And Julia Quinn is just this great light. She is, she enjoys what she does, and it comes across in her books. Her characters are all quirky and fun, and there's always, this growth in them. That being said, I've heard a lot of people love Bridgerton. They are in love with the adaptation. I have not seen it. I cannot remark on it. What has bothered me is I have seen a certain amount of other authors who are talking negatively about romance. People, I think we've gotten beyond that point. Romance makes up the majority of the market. You write what you want, you read what you want, you do what you want, but don't bash other writers. You know what goes into these works. And someone who has been on the New York Times as much as Julia has been, and it worked as hard. She worked to get there. Don't give her any crap for that. She worked to get to that point. Honestly, people, why bash somebody if you're already a writer and you know what effort goes into that? Why would you do that? That is just negative and wrong. And honestly, I'm just gonna not pay attention to it, which is what I should be doing, and everybody else. But anyways, so the two romance books that I'm talking about, Marie Force, who is again a force to be reckoned with in the romance industry. She knows how to run a business, and she gets it done, and she knows how to make the most of her product and her creativity to build an empire. She's built an empire out of these books. That being said, she has a series of books called, they're all different names, and they're named after Beatles titles, and it's the Butler family series out of Vermont. And if you are familiar with Vermont at all, there is a store in Vermont called Vermont Country Store, and this is sort of based off of that store. It's set family run store, very similar to that. And so her latest edition, called Let It Be, just came out this week. I have already gotten it, and I haven't dug into it yet, but that's coming. I did go back and buy the other book this week that I'm talking about. Is by main author Janet Chapman. Over the years that I have been writing romance and been involved with romance writers, Janet Chapman is Janet had passed away in 2017, I think it was. Way too young. And I have to say, she was my favorite author. I grew up reading Elizabeth Ogilvy, which was a very early romance book set in Maine. And Janet comes the closest to that I've ever seen. And she didn't just write about books about the coast. She wrote books about inland. So it wasn't all lobsters. She wrote time travels. She wrote romances. She was an avid outdoors woman. Was not afraid to go out there and do it all herself. And she put those kind of characters into her books. So, the book that I got this week, I'm surprised I hadn't read it before. It's called From Kiss to Queen. And I have to admit, it's a bit sentimental reading it. Knowing that it came out in 2016, and it came out shortly before she passed away. I have one other that is the last book that she wrote. And I think she was working on it when she passed away. Her writing is I'm gonna get teary. Her writing was very inspirational to me, and the fact that she made real human-like people and did it so well, and portrayed Maine more in a light than most people had seen for a while. So I've just started that one, and I know if I start it, I'm gonna get really into it and really get sucked into it. So that's what's on my reading list this week. I'm hoping to do more of these all about words. I'm gonna leave it to every 2 weeks right now, so the next one will be coming out. It'll be on Sundays. You're going to be seeing this. So we are looking at around the 16th. We'll be coming out again on this. So every 2 weeks on Sundays, you're going to be getting an All About Words podcast or vlogging, or it's not a podcast yet. Eventually it'll be a podcast. My hope is to eventually be able to interview creatives of all type and be able to bring that forward. So let's hope that we can do that. And as I travel, I really, really, really want to meet other creatives out there and be able to interview them. So here's bringing that to you. If you missed it in the beginning of the video, hubby did a little sneak in there. So he was checking to see what I was doing. So, all right, that's it for today. I'm going to be doing some a tarot video this afternoon, and I'm going to be talking about the new deck my daughter got me for Christmas. This is the Tarot of the Divine, inspired by deities, folklore, and fairy tales from around the world. So it's really, really awesome cards. So, all right, I wish you all well. I wish you all the best. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Know I'm sending blessings from Maine. Bye-bye.